So here is the last storyteller, Kathleen Auterio. Kathleen, come on up here. Kathleen. Keep going for Kathleen, who's coming. Yay. Keep it going for our last storyteller until she comes up here. The last one. Woo! Yay!
Making you sweat a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm extremely short. When I first moved to California, I had a really bad case of insomnia. So I started to go to the all-night gym chain that you may be familiar with around the corner from my apartment. And I started doing this every night, and it wasn't long before the desk clerk told me, you know, we have a part-time position open on overnight. Why don't you come here and get paid for not sleeping? And so I did. And when you take a job like this, you get an employee manual, but it's what the employees say that you have to remember. And the biggest one here was, try not to call the police. What did I just get myself into? But it's not quite as nefarious as it sounds. It turns out that there are a lot of requests to call the police, but most of them could be worked out with a little mediation. And if the cops didn't come that night, the management didn't watch the surveillance cameras. And the average person cannot stand behind a desk for 10 hours without wandering off and working out, or having a local poker game, or bringing their date to the gym. So it was in your best interest if the surveillance camera was not watched. So after I moved to the city, I started at a city version of the same well-known club. And I sit down at the desk, and the first night, a man comes up and he says, "Call the police." Oh God, my first night. "What's wrong, sir?" I say, seriously but bubbly. "There are people doing something illegal upstairs." Illegal? Like what? And then he gets really rude, and he says, "I'm a trainer here, and this is your first night, and I'll get you fired." And I was like, okay, hold on, I'll go check it out. And now I'm kind of pissed. So I go upstairs and I head towards the dark hallway, towards the tanning beds. And I'm making a lot of noise because I want whatever's going on to just go away so I don't have to call the police. So I'm like, do-do-do, checking the hallway, wonder what's going on by the tanning beds, okay. And I look down the hallway. I can smell burning plastic, but I can see one man is standing and another man is kneeling. And I'm like, this is just the standard 3 a.m. date here. This is nothing. This is not police worthy. And so I go downstairs and I'm like, no, I'm not calling the police. That's nothing. If you want to call them, you call. So he does. 2 officers show up and they say, you know, what can we do for you? And he says, there are 2 men upstairs smoking meth. And the officer kind of furrows his brow and looks at his partner and says, okay, what do you want us to do? I'm like, oh God, yes. Then the trainer puts on his best 80s movie conservative rock and roll hating mom face and says, what do I want you to do? I want you to arrest them. Meth is illegal. Then all of a sudden, officer number 1 becomes very animated. He looks at his partner and says, oh, you know what we should do tonight? We should go out and arrest everyone in San Francisco who does meth. They are patting each other on the back, doubling over with a little bit of forced laughter. I am on the side of the desk, doubling over in real painful laughter. The trainer looks down. Will you just kick him out? Fine. We all go upstairs. I'm in the back. And my whole trick worked because this really nervous man was running out of the locker room, so he got my hint to run away. And right then, the trainer does this like undercover thing, and he's like, that's him. to the cops. But they don't even hear him or pay attention because they're too busy greeting this man warmly. Oh, hi, how you doing? Yeah, we're going to see you later. All right, you take care. Have a good night. And then the man runs down the stairs, and the trainer says, well, that was one of the guys. And they're like, well, he left on his own. Problem solved. Have a good night. And they leave. So I go back to the desk, and the phone rings a little later. Why did you call the police on me? And I was like, oh, listen, buddy, I didn't call the police. It's my first night in this location, and from what I've seen in these places, that's nothing. You know what? As long as you're not violating someone's civil liberties in this place, I'm cool with it. Just be discreet, because a trainer saw you doing something. And he was like, oh, great, thanks for the tip. And he says, what do you like for breakfast? And I don't even think of it, because it's just kind of an insane question. And I say, I guess when I'm on a run, I grab a soy latte and a bagel. The next night, he shows up with a piping hot soy latte and a bagel. And I'm like, oh my God, thanks. And he's like, no, it's no problem. I wanted to say thank you because you're cool. And every night you work, I'm bringing you a soy latte and a bagel. And I'm like, what? Oh, that's too much. And he's like, no, it's no problem. I own the donut shop on the corner. I pieced together what happened the night before. This cartoonish stereotype plays back in my head. Donut shop. But the man brought me breakfast for the rest of my time at that chain of gyms that you may know of. And that was my reward for looking the other way at misdemeanors and felonies. Thank you.
Very nice.